Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. My name is Julia Orloff, and I am a fourth-year student at The Ohio State University studying human nutrition and dietetics. Today, I'm going to talk to you all about eating balanced and healthy during stressful times. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so using food for emotions. Now, this may be a new idea for some of you, but sometimes during difficult emotional times, we lean to food to comfort ourselves. So some reasons we may feel those difficult emotions may be due to stress, boredom, anxiety, or even sadness. Eating to comfort during stress can be part of a healthy relationship with food if it doesn't become a habit, and most importantly, if we do it while staying in touch with our satiety levels. So satiety, that is the feeling of being satisfied or satiated. So this means when you are no longer hungry, your satiety levels are high and you're comfortable with the amount of food that you have eaten. So what I have here for you is a hunger scale. Now, this is going to help us be mindful while we're eating. And mindfulness when it comes to eating could mean being aware of those satiety levels we talked about, or noticing both your hunger and your fullness. So when you were a newborn baby, you were really good at this. You cried when you were hungry and you rejected food when you were full. So back to this hunger scale. We have a range from 1 to 10, and a level 1 is starving, no energy, you're very weak. That is the hungriest we can let our bodies get to, and we always want to avoid that. On the other side of that, a level 10, we're extremely stuffed, we might even feel nauseous. This is the fullest we can feel. I know when I'm at a level 10, I feel like my stomach might even explode. So those are feelings we really want to avoid. And we want to kind of stay in this spot I have circled here for you, this 4 to 7 range. So at a level 4, we're hungry and our stomach is growling. At this point, we're starting to feel some more intense feelings of hunger, and we are in need of food. So keep in mind, though, that there are other telltale signs of hunger beyond your stomach growling. For some people, they get a little irritable or angry, maybe a slight headache, slight stomach pain, maybe some difficulty concentrating. When I'm at a level 4, I can't even do homework, I can't concentrate. So at this point, we're starting to feel increasingly hungry and we need to get some food in us. So if we wait too long, though, at a level 4, we might start to creep into those levels of hunger that really aren't good for us and make us feel bad, those 3s or 2s or 1s. So most importantly, at a level 4, we want to get some food in us. On the other side, a level 7, we are full, but we're not uncomfortable. So we might even be able to eat more, but we know that if we did, we'd start to feel too full. So what I want to talk about today is what happens when you keep eating, even when you're full, when you're at that 7 level. So this may be due to emotional hunger. We keep eating because of those reasons we talked about earlier, that stress, anger, or maybe even sadness. So something to do to be mindful of your hunger and fullness is to ask yourself, if my body only needs a certain amount of food to feel satisfied, but I continue to eat even after I'm full, then what other need am I trying to fill with food? It might be an emotional need. You might be trying to satisfy a feeling or maybe a craving. You might be reaching for comfort because you're feeling some stressful things. So if that's the case, we can return to being mindful. So my tip for you is to take the time to sit and eat your meal and really feel your sensations of hunger and fullness. If you eat slowly, you might even be able to feel yourself moving from that 4 to a 5 to a 6 and then to a 7. So what I talked about earlier, some of those other reasons we may still eat even when we're at that 7 level, this might be due to stress. So we've all been going through a time of change and maybe even a decent amount of stress, what with quarantine and the pandemic and everything else happening in the world. It's normal to feel some levels of stress and discomfort. However, there's a difference between a good amount of stress and an unhealthy amount of stress. The stress we feel when we have a big homework assignment or the stress mixed with feelings of eagerness about starting a new grade, those aren't necessarily harmful for us. It's when that stress persists, we start to face some issues. So this image here shows some of the ways that stress can affect our body. One cool thing about this image is that you can find a way for food to help pretty much all of these issues. Now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to focus on immune issues. So if the stress you're feeling is persisting, you can actually weaken your immune system. Now, what's really cool about food is that you can use it as medicine. So you can eat certain foods to help keep your body healthy and able to fight off sicknesses. I'll talk more about that on the next slide. But it's important to remember also that the food itself doesn't necessarily heal the stress. It's the food that helps your body deal with the stress. So Food and habits that reduce the effects of stress. These are ways we can use food to help us cope with difficult feelings. So, the first way we have here is listening to our hunger cues. We can do that instead of using food as a coping mechanism. This way, we can prevent overeating and avoid those uncomfortable feelings and stomach aches, especially when we're feeling stressed out. We don't want to add to that at all. The second way we have is disease fighting foods. Now, this might sound a little crazy, but I actually talked about it a little bit on the last slide. There are actually foods that can help your body fight against diseases and sicknesses. These are foods like blueberries, carrots, broccoli, avocados, or salmon. These foods provide a lot of different vitamins and nutrients that our body needs to help keep us healthy. But it's not just limited to that list. I like to think of getting in these disease fighting foods as getting in the rainbow. So all those different foods you're eating when you're getting that variety of colors, they all provide different nutrients. So a blueberry is going to give you different vitamins than a carrot would. Those colorful foods, they have those good vitamins that you want to eat in order to keep doing active things like going for bike rides or maybe playing sports for your school's team. Those vitamins and minerals help keep your body healthy and ready to fight off diseases to its fullest capacity. So now I want to talk to you all about actually creating that balanced plate. Those disease-fighting foods are awesome, but you can't just have a plate of blueberries and avocados for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. So this image I have for you here is probably one you've seen before. It's the My Plate guidelines for creating a balanced plate, but I actually like this one more. It has a visual of what those food groups can look like. Now, this is Canada's dietary guidelines. It's just their version of our My Plate visual, but the message is the same. So as you can see, half of this plate is filled with fruits and vegetables and all those foods we talked about to keep you healthy. You can see blueberries, carrots, broccoli, sweet potatoes, spinach. This plate has a ton of different options for vitamin-rich, colorful foods. And I think they even have the whole rainbow, which is bonus points for them. We also have a place for protein, which you can get a bunch of different ways. You can get protein from meat and fish, but you can also get protein from beans, tofu, nuts and seeds, stuff like that. We also have a spot for grains. So that's brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta. We want to focus on those whole grains. But back to the message of actually creating this plate, balanced could mean making half of your plate fruits and vegetables and then filling it with whatever else you have on the table. Or balanced could also mean including 3 of those 5 food groups. So I'm going to jump back here real quick. In the United States, we have 5 different food groups: fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. So balanced might mean including fruits, grains, and protein on your plate, or fruits, vegetables, and dairy. So as long as you have 3 of those 5, I consider that balanced. So here are some more examples of what you might eat at home, at school, or out and about when this whole pandemic is over. You can see that all of these plates are filled with colors. There's a protein, a grain, fruits, and vegetables on every single one of these plates. But when we're creating a balanced plate, it's also good to acknowledge that sometimes we aren't going to fit in all those different food groups. 5 is a lot to fit on one plate. So we can use snacks as a way to sneak in those food groups we may be lacking from meals. And of course, we want to make them tasty as well. Snacks are great for reducing our chances of getting to that 3 or 2 on the hunger scale, those orange levels we wanted to avoid. So an example of when you might use a snack would be if at breakfast you had oatmeal or cereal with some berries. That is a grain and a fruit, but you might still be missing the third option to make it balanced. So I would opt for some protein in a snack. My favorite choice would be what I have pictured here. These are little protein bites. They're filled with peanut butter, oats, and chocolate chips to keep them sweet. But you could also go for a hard-boiled egg or maybe even some almonds to get that protein and balance out your meals. But even after all this, and I know it's been a lot so far, it's good to remember that no one is perfect and all foods fit. You don't have to stop eating sweet treats or snacks just because they don't fill those gaps. I love this picture over here. It says, "Oh, those are dangerous." Food isn't dangerous unless it's poisoned. You're allowed to have cookies, cakes, and French fries even. It's part of a balanced diet. What's important to remember, though, is that you can eat those sweet foods or other comfort foods with those colorful and disease-fighting foods we talked about. So you can have French fries as a side with maybe a chicken or a bean salad, or maybe a brownie for dessert after a balanced meal of whole wheat pasta and broccoli. Now, those are just some examples, but the message here is that comfort foods can be social or celebratory. You don't have to avoid foods because they aren't on that My Plate visual. Sweet treats do fit into a balanced diet. Just remember that balance is the key word. So, after this presentation, I'd like you all to make a goal for yourself based on the topics that we talked about. So this goal is going to be different for everyone, but I want you guys to focus on making it both specific and measurable. So some examples of that might be, a goal could be, I will build a balanced plate at least once a day for 1 week. So that's pretty measurable. At the end of a week, you can ask yourself, did I have a balanced meal once a day? Another option for an example would be, for 5 days out of a 7-day week, I'm going to have 1 fruit or vegetable with each meal. Again, really specific and very easy to measure. So that was a lot, but I hope I've given you guys some ideas for dealing with stress and ways to keep your body and mind healthy. Just remember that it's all about balance, and you are the only one who truly knows what your body feels and needs. So thank you again so much for listening to me today. I hope you find some comfort in the near future and make the most of these fall days. I also want to say a big thank you to Buckeye Wellness for helping me put this all together. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out and email me. I'd love to chat nutrition. So thank you so much. Have a good one.